Yeah. Yeah. I was up in bed last night, going crazy again.
Is that the way we want to start a live meeting, a production meeting? You're up in
Yeah,
bed going crazy.
yeah. Because then I wanted to call you, and just
Well,
kidding.
let's do real quickly. This is a production meeting that we're having for Iller and Filthier. Greg and I, we try to, whenever we have meetings like this, to where we plan things out or go over some things, we try to make it a live as well, just so that you get a little behind the scenes glimpse of what it's like to put on a show and uh, not necessarily the difficulties, but the heavy lifting behind the scenes, right? So Greg and I, we correspond almost daily now that the show's kind of getting some traction and we're kind of getting going. But today we're kind of having a production meeting to, uh, maybe look back on last week's show to kind of see how that went. And then I know Greg has some notes and plans for this week's Iller and Filthier show number 2. So this is what we're going to try to do. We'll try to do these big production meetings. We'll do them live. I mean, we're not going to make it any kind of to do. It's not like there's any skits or anything like that. This is just kind of behind the scenes at the SNL leading up to that Saturday night. So,
Alrighty,
all right,
that's
Greg.
big. Um, yeah, I was. Well, let's first. Do we want to get into when do we want to do something next? Do you want to wait? Do you want to hit it over the weekend? Like, what are you thinking, like schedule wise? And
Schedule wise for me, I'm good until probably Friday night. I can do any
okay,
night this
okay.
week. And then,
Let's shoot for Thursday again.
okay.
Um, if you think we can do that.
Yeah.
I got band practice Wednesday. Thursday might be okay. It might be a later one again, if that's
Yeah,
cool with
that's
you.
fine.
Or
Yeah.
and just thinking going forward too. I kind of feel like the weeknight might be kind of cool, just because more people are around. If you want, versus like a weekend show or something, or not sure. That was just a thought I had.
Yeah, I think at the beginning,
Should we try
we
Thursdays?
kind of just do whatever is convenient for
Okay.
both of us to kind of get going. And then as we start getting some people watching and coming back and watching and subscribing and stuff,
Okay.
I think that'll answer some questions for us when we should do our actual
Yeah.
shows.
Okay.
Um, but yeah,
Um.
this week, and I think we're still managing between I mean, you've got a crazy schedule too, because you've got regular Greg work stuff, dad
Yep.
stuff, and then you've got your band that's kind of winding up. So
Yeah. Yeah, we'll can manage that. Yeah, like I said, our practices are kind of random, same thing, just when people can find time. Um so yeah, so I was thinking last night I had like almost like an epiphany, or I had a clarity come over me of like a couple things. So I wanted to just chat with you about it because I want to see some of this, like you're gonna have to tell me just from your experience, like, yeah, that doesn't work, or you know what I mean, like some of that. But I was again thinking about music last night, and I was like, when you're in a band, you play a role, right? And I started thinking about like we should how because I'm with you. I think having the more structure we can have, and the more like and things are starting to like the vision is narrowing as I'm like, oh, okay, this kind of stuff works. So I had this thought last night that, and again, you tell me if this is wrong. This is how we write songs a lot. My buddies and I write a lot of songs this way, where and producers do the same thing. They steer you in a different direction, not a complete different direction, but their job is to say, "Hey, let's try this." And I'm all about that. I've my favorite music I've ever made was when we try things, and sometimes we look at each other like, "Nope, that didn't work," or you're like, "Holy cow, this just made the song 3 times," stuff like that. So my thought is, I was thinking about roles. I think I think we should focus on. I think you and I's, again, going back to the niche that you said, or like trying to find what we do. I
mhm.
kind of feel like these little shorts are like our separator that could make us that we have fun doing, for one, and two, it breaks up the normal two guys talking to each other on a podcast thing. So I think the idea of having these fun little skits we've been doing, like the phone call thing, I think we should kind of build on that and
Okay.
almost have like a little weekly thing each week. Um, And what I'm getting at is I was thinking about this. So doing that video yesterday, I did it, the recap one. I think it's fine. And I do think, I guess what I'm saying is like, I have this vision of me doing the pre-show work and maybe the pre-show videos, kind of being in charge of the shorts, maybe creating like our segment music, each week, if because you might, I saw it on the internet, but you might come up with something else and be like, hey, I got this thing, and I can kind of be in charge of that stuff and promoting. I think it. I think we should focus on the promoting of next show versus, and again, you tell me if I'm wrong here, versus doing like, two or three of like the recap ones. I think it's cool to have maybe a couple of those. I mean, what's the number, do you think? What's the number and purpose of like the recap piece? I'm asking as
In what
curiosity.
way? No,
Like,
right. But specifically, what do you mean?
like
The
what I
number?
did yesterday, like the, or, is it, should we put at least one or two out there? Like, I mean, is there any science behind it, I guess, or what you're trying to do?
There's no science behind it other than I think of it in terms of marketing, right?
Yeah.
And
Okay.
it's, and you've got way more real world experience working with companies on the marketing side of things. I don't.
Yeah.
I look at it as marketing in two ways: active marketing and passive marketing. The passive marketing is we just do our show, or I just do a show, I post it, and I let the algorithm of wherever it's posted and hosting just kind of take care of trying to find people to find the show, which is fine. And that can work, I think, for some people, some shows, and for more popular people or well-known people, celebrities, that works. And then you have the active marketing where we have to actually get onto whatever platforms. And for us, the ones that are there are the social media ones that are like TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, to where we're either actively engaging with other people, whether it's potential viewers or listeners to the show that we have, or it's other shows, but we're actively engaging with people. And then the other thing is marketing and selling by creating clips. So I get kind of what you're saying and where the roles need to be and what we need to kind of focus on. And I agree, just a little bit of what I see as like each of our strengths and stuff. And I'm still kind of learning. Like I've got a pretty good feel as to what my strengths and weaknesses are, what I like and don't like to do. And then I'm learning kind of what you like and don't like on that, or what you're good and what maybe you're just not up to your something that that you dig or something. But then you're learning that too, because you're starting from zero. You're starting cold, right? Which is hard.
But it is the music. I'm connecting to it that way. Like doing that clip yesterday wasn't, once I got, I'm like, okay, it was like you said, it was more learning the tech side of it and which one I should use and like, navigating some of that. But once I got it down yesterday, I was like, oh, this isn't very bad. So this isn't about like workload or me not wanting to do something. But I think in my thought, it's like, I think we should get a couple clips out there. And I think I like your thought of like me trying to find something, because I do think like, so what I was thinking is the show wraps, you've got that like experience, how to take the show like you did. You're like quickly cut it down, bam, there it is. And then we could both, I think we both go through and find like, a clip or two that we want to throw out. But I think I want to focus on I think our show should focus on the promotion piece. I think in my mind, I'm thinking of people that have watched it. They don't really care about seeing that clip again. They're going to be like, oh my God, did you see this stupid video? They're going to doing something again Thursday. Like, I feel like that buzz generation is what's I'd like to try to help focus on. Because I had a couple ideas. I had a couple funny thoughts about this week's show and like a little thing I could quickly do. And we put it out there. And again, like you did last week, you had people were literally like, hey man, I see it. You're doing it tonight. I'll be, it was like, it was cool to hear that buzz. Like, and I feel like we need to stay focused on that too.
Yeah, no,
Does that make sense?
it makes sense to me. I understand I believe so. I understand what you're saying, and that
Yeah.
is something that I do think is one of your strong suits. Is you're kind of like me in a sense that you like looking forward.
Yeah.
What's next?
Yeah.
What do we plan on next? And that's a huge part of, I think, any successful show
Yeah.
is the thinking of, okay, what's going to go on the next show? How do we prepare for that? How do we produce that?
Yeah.
How do we tease what's coming? Because we haven't really kind of talked about, the different kind of fun ways to tease what's coming up.
Yeah.
I what percentage of that for the show versus looking back and promoting what we just did?
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. I think in the grant, if everything's perfect, right, and if resources aren't limited and
Yeah.
we had a staff of people, I think it's 50-50.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Have some stuff to recap, but then you're blasting with new stuff.
like I'm totally with you in the sense that
Okay.
you gave me kind of an idea, and we'll talk about what that idea is coming up, planning for it here.
Okay.
And so I've been thinking in my head, I'm like, oh yeah, and I was like, we should probably, either I can do one, or you can do one on your own, or we could do one together, where we tease out kind of what's coming up.
Yeah.
And I get that, and I understand what you're saying. Like the people that had watched the show last time are kind of looking for what's coming up.
Yeah.
My
And
thing
then
with the
you're gonna grab you'll grab people's attention though, right? Still, like,
but my thing is 99% of the people didn't see the show.
Yeah.
Even if we say 99% of the people that potentially could see the show don't know about us. And so that's stuff that we have in the can already versus something that we have to make. This is already done.
Yeah,
It's made, it's there. If we lean more towards the passive, I don't think people are going to be able to find it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the only problem. And I get it that when it's hard. Look, I wish I could do a little of both to where I like doing both. I can do, for me, it's kind of fun going back and picking out some of the funny things and then highlighting it for new people to find. But I thought it was kind of cool. I think as of this morning, I was taking a look, and according to the YouTube stats that were provided for the show, it had views of, I think, 600 views. Now,
that's crazy.
How much of the show did people actually watch? Those stats aren't released just yet, because I think we have to get a little bit more data coming in for the YouTube algorithm to determine that. But comparing it to just like my tossing salad show that I host solo, that's crazy numbers compared to what I normally do, and I've been doing it for over a year.
Yeah.
So I don't know necessarily if that's the YouTube algorithm pushing out something new to kind of help new shows get going, but I'll be curious as we go forward.
See it,
how well that kind of takes off. But if we focus more of our resources, time, and all that stuff to the new one, I feel like we're leaving a lot of what we did to find other people. So I have a potential solution, but I'll listen to what you have to say.
Well, I was just going to say, I want to know if you carry that piece more than I do, but I think I still want to do, like, I still think have plenty of time. So it's not about stopping the post stuff, but if I was to be like, oh crap, I got to make a video, one or the other, like, should I do, hey, I'll knock out the next week promo, and like you wrap up like, hey, I found a couple clips, like what I don't want to do is I'm not trying to put, you're like, no, that's what I'm trying to get some of this off my plate, like that, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying not to purposely put it on you.
Yeah, no, I get it. And that's
but I think I still want to do it. I think I still, to your point, I think of it as like the highlights from the things, like what are the things, because I think people will come and be like, check out the little clips, and then they might even be like, oh shit, I gotta check out this whole thing, like, So it's like finding those little funny highlights, something you thought was funny, something I thought, something got where we got like edgy, or like
Right. The show discovery isn't going to come from us just posting the show
yeah,
on a podcast host and then putting up the long form show on YouTube, and then people
yeah,
will just end up finding it. Some people will. This is just from my own research and experience over the last few years of doing this. There's unfortunately or fortunately, there's really nothing that matches the discoverability of a show than being active on social media platforms.
yeah,
So what you're saying is the question that we have to ask and hammer out between the two of us. And this is the great thing about having these kind of meetings on a video here, where people kind of peek behind the scenes of a show, because it's not just about sitting down for an hour a week with a buddy, a
right,
friend, a co-host, and just hammering out, and then you're done. There's a lot of other things that,
yeah,
depending on how successful you want the show to become, how you want to get this in front of other people, you're asking the right questions, the same questions to me, and we're going to have to kind of figure out how to divide that for now.
yeah,
I'll throw out there and put this back in your back burner brain for down the road. This isn't something that I think is probably good to introduce right now, but this is kind of down the road, that we actively seek a third co-host
right,
who has the specialty of social media and
sure,
making clips.
yeah,
And then they know their job coming in is to not only be a co-host, and they can be kind of one to where they don't have to too much detail, sorry, but a third co-host that maybe adds a different dynamic. So I'm obviously thinking
right,
we're two males in
yeah,
our 50s.
right,
We probably need a female
right,
voice, maybe somebody from a different generation to kind of
right,
counterbalance us being angry old men, but who has the passion and the
right,
ability, and they're used to doing clips. And then maybe we say,
right,
okay, your job on our show is to co-host,
right,
kind of, to where you don't have to do any of like the pre-planning or anything like that. And then
yeah,
all you
yeah,
do is the back end of
right,
advertising the show with short clips.
yeah. I hear you. I think it'd be cool. Yeah, it'd be nice. Like you said, down the road. Or I think we'll have to naturally stumble across that person. Might be
Yeah.
like, ooh, or like you said, or just keep thinking about it.
But
But
it would have to be
yeah,
somebody that wants to do those clips,
do
that
that. Yeah,
has the
yeah,
not only the ability but the gift of figuring out, what makes a good clip. Because you go back
yeah,
to our show last week, and as it plays out is a little slower timing because it's an hour show,
yeah,
and it's not quick clips and boom 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 and getting
yeah,
people captured within the first 3 seconds of a clip.
yeah,
But if you make it that way,
yeah,
that's a whole different dynamic, and that grabs new people.
yeah. I hear you. But yeah, I don't. So I don't think nothing groundbreaking. Like I said, I think I want to still try to help with clips, or we talk, or at least we even watch it and have notes, or be like, hey, I think there's the three bright spots, or X, Y, and Z time on the thing or something. But
Mhm.
are you on board with the thought of like having little shorts, just more of those? Like, again, I just think that's the side of our humor. I still want to play out the idea of me putting on little like costumes and stuff, just because I think it just something goofy to separate us.
You're talking the kind of the weird, not weird. What's
But just
one of
like the Gardetto
the
thing, a little
Gardettos? So
bit,
just kind of like the
yeah,
one-off
like
videos, or
yeah,
maybe there's
yeah,
a long running storyline there.
yeah,
It's outside of the main show. It's us just messing around. I love
yeah,
that. That's obviously something that I think that we need to do more of,
yeah.
and that we can do more of, and especially because they don't necessarily require both of us to be there
Yeah, yeah.
or to
I'm just
do.
thinking, right? Like, 'cause some of the thing I'm thinking today that I want to do for this week, and I'll get there. But it's like I I just think it's an easy thing for me to do, put it out and have a little short, and like you did, the little like, hey, even, and then having like a show page, like almost like something we can just share. Do we have the video we can put out day before, we can put like, hey, live show starts tonight, just a clip. I think just a clip, doesn't have to be a video. Those are all things like I feel like I can help with and kind of do that. And then so I just think it'll be fun. I like the idea. Like I said, I was telling you the other day, like if you come up with some crazy news story, I like the funny thought of like me going like, oh, Brian, I got to step out and I'll go call the guy that you're supposed to call or whatever. And then I don't know if it's possible, but can I call into the show, log back in, you cover some air for a minute while you're like, oh, Greg had to step out real quick. Like, and then I call in from my phone as like a street reporter.
Yeah.
And then you're like, hey, Greg, tell me about like some crazy story that you found on the internet that you're like, you're broadcasting from there. Like, and I don't know what it is.
So you're talking something, you moved on
in
to
the
something
show,
different than
in
what
the
we
show.
were talking about just seconds ago though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're talking in the show.
Both. I think it's both. I think it's both having clips. That's the easy part, but I still think in the show it'd just be funny to have some goofy stuff or where I dress up or something. Like,
that just takes
I don't know if that would
coordination.
Work, yeah.
And production live as you're doing it.
Yeah.
So could it be done? I think so.
Because I can call in from my phone, right? Like if I stepped out, if I exited the show, right?
Like you physically just walk out the room.
Right now I click exit and you're like, oh shoot, something must have happened to Greg.
And then I bring in a different character as a third window.
Yeah, or no, I don't even leave the room. I think I just exit to where it's just you. And I call back in from my phone and I'm not in the room and I'm pretending like you're like, hey, at the meantime, where Greg's trying to figure out his technical problems, like, I'm going to go to our street reporter, like Bob. Like,
but when you're saying call in,
I can log from the link just from my phone. Like
I could. So we could, as long as you have the link wherever.
Yeah.
So
and
like on your phone, you could assume being, if I'm understanding you could assume being a different character or somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I can, on this screen here where it's me and you, we can either showcase to where, okay, I've got Greg, it's me, it's your window, but you're no longer there.
Oh, yeah, I can turn off my camera.
Or you could turn off your camera, or I could just take you off the main feed.
Yeah.
And then in comes another window. I think it would be kind of funny with how you're going with this.
Yeah.
If it's another kind of character.
Yes.
We leave your thing blank. No, I'm sorry. We leave your thing to where you're not there. So we see the drums and everything.
Okay.
You're gone, but then you call in as a different character.
Yeah.
And then I bring up the third window because you're calling in from your phone.
Yeah, I would just click the link
the phone,
and just
put
then
a
now
new
name.
It's Could we do that? Yeah.
Yeah, I just think it'd be funny to try shit like that. Like again, like the coach, with the draft coming up this weekend, maybe next week there's a little like, or when NCAA comes out, we save that. But I think like the one I'm thinking is just be funny if you come across a story that you think that would work, where like I call in and you're like, hey, so you're at the scene of this like fire at a sex toy plant, you know what I mean? But I don't know what you're gonna say.
Right.
So now immediately on the spot, I gotta be like, yeah, so I'm out here. You could smell the plastic burning.
I think that's kind of brilliant in different ways because it's what's it called when you're
improv.
Like,
I mean, that's what I think would be funny for us to try.
So like you're reporting from the scene of a local murder in a suburbia,
right?
And you have access to the house. So then you're walking through your house, and I'm like, okay, Greg, so where was the body found or located? And you come up with, and you're showing us on the phone. Yeah. I love it. That's our humor.
Yeah, I think because I think the funny part is you're like, oh, this is a great story, or like, because if you're like, hey, so Greg, you're in the house where the event happened, and I'm like, yeah, but I don't know yet. And you're like, so it says here there was over 200 cats, and and then all of a sudden I got to scramble and be like, oh yeah, it smells like piss in here.
Right. No, I love that. That's brilliant. I think that's we can do that for an actual show where instead of having one to where right now the template that we've had one show where we have like a main storyline and then a segment, to split it up. Maybe there's a show on one week to where it's something else, but then we're doing that and maybe another couple segments or something.
To me that's not exactly what I wanted to talk about, but I just want to see if that's possible, because I think in the future, I like the idea of having a half-hour core of something and then little segments that we do, because I came up with one last night that I want to do called What the Fuck. And I just want to do, I think you and I could both do we could do it like our What the Fuck moment of the week or something, where we both have that's a short segment, like literally like you show something, say something, and it's like a quick, like we talk about it for 5 minutes, and
you're definitely in the looking forward creative mindset for the show, and that's something that's hard to find when you're dealing with shows like ours, or just people that want to get together and do shows, because there's some people that are more geared towards just talking about stuff. You're actually,
I want to do both. Like I want to find a way to do both, right?
But you want to create something new in the universe and have fun with it, and I'm with you on that.
Like I said, I kind of always vision this kind of like the weekend update. They cover the topical stories, the hot news, what and ours can be wide ranging. Like you had Taylor Swift launch last week, got the NFL draft, we did the OJ thing. Like I think every week there's going to be those like big things, and we get into politics season, we get into all the other things that are going to happen this year, seasons.
That's linking this back to SNL and everything, and I used to ask the question, well, why aren't the head writers in more of the skits? So right now, who's the head writer? What's the name on the?
I think Colin Jost is
one of the head writers, and you never see him in really any of the skits.
That's
and then going back to like even when Tina Fey and Amy Poehler were kind of head writers, more before they were kind of featured performers, and I think they did both. But you see, it's hard and it's difficult to do all of that when you're the head writer. So you're a head writer type person on here. And I think I lean that way also. My fear is we lose sight of how to market and get the stuff out there after we create it.
And I think that's where the fun of the promo, like for this week's show, the thing that we talked about doing, and we'll get there in just a minute. Like I've already got a skit that I can film today or tomorrow that'll be ready for like our draft thing we talked about. Like I just have, so it's like, I just want to execute stuff. And I think we stick to the format of like our segments. I mean, even if for a while you're like, I'm going to do, like, I've got my segment for you this week. And if you do the, like, I saw it on the internet, and you do that for the next month or so, like the way we start, all these things will feed into there, because the topics I'm writing down, the show topics, I've got funny show topics that I'm just logging. And I just think we find, like I said, the draft one just makes sense today. And if we like that, I think we don't have to do it right away, but next month we could maybe, like we talked about, do a different genre or something, or a movie, like,
that. And that's what I told you the last time we were talking about this.
Hold on 1 second, brother. I got a kid calling. Hold on.
Yeah, you're fine.
1 second.
So Greg had come up with an idea for the next episode, which is what we're going to end up doing. Basically, we're drafting the top. Each of us we're going to pick the top 5 hairband albums of the 80s. And which is something that's kind of from our decade, right? The 80s. And I think that'll be fun for people to listen and watch. And they're going to have their opinions on what their favorite hairband album is. But we're doing it in a draft format, kind of like a fantasy football draft or the NFL draft, to where we're going to find out, okay, well, who gets to draft first? Because you get your pick of which band album is the best, and if Greg gets the number one pick. So you can kind of see how we can kind of create content there. But the brilliant part of that idea that Greg had is that that's not necessarily a one-off, because we can apply that down the road to, okay, well, how about we do a draft pick of the top 5 Tom Hanks movies?
Yeah.
And then we have the audience decide, okay, who had, at the end of the show or something, who had the better, or who's got the better Tom Hanks team? Is it Greg with, and then his 5 picks, or is it Brian's with his 5 picks? And so then you're applying that theme to an endless possibilities. You're creating something that the audience can have participation in, can create a quote winner, a loser. And even within all of that, you have endless possibilities of making content after the fact.
Yeah, I like the so last night I was thinking through, you'll be proud of me, I wasn't just coming up with crazy ideas. I was actually like trying to think how we're going to execute this. So I have a twist to what we talked about, and I just want to see if you agree. So I was just trying to think of how to make this be a little easier. So what are your thoughts on draft? So you got mock drafts, you got everybody's draft board, right? And you're watching the draft. You know how everybody's like best available.
Mm-hmm.
I have a thought about you having your draft board, your top 5, and I have my top 5. We discuss and share, and then we together pick the top 5, because maybe we have the same one as number 1. So we're like, cool, we clearly got a Caleb Williams, right? We clearly got number 1. It's this album. And then it still gives us a chance to discuss our 5. And then we figure out a way to, because I just think it might be really hard if you know, I'm just trying to think if we both, because then we have to come up with like 10 in case I pick one. So my thought is we both lay our 5 out there, and then we together, and then to your point, maybe we get, 20 people right in, and if we're lucky, and they're like, what about this one? And we're like, okay, clearly we've got a push. We missed that. We're going to agree with our fans, and we're going to put that at number 4. Like, does that sound cool to like where we discuss it live?
And then we come up with the definitive top 5
the number,
from Iller and Filthier top 5
right.
albums. So it's not necessarily a draft. So you're moving away from the draft, though.
It's more like the draft order. So think of us as like guys in a room where, like I saw the Vikings today, where their coach was like they're clearly going to try to draft a quarterback. So he said there's 22 guys that are reviewing tape. There's going to be 22 opinions on the quarterback. So I'm thinking like a draft room. Okay, Brian, you scouted. What do you got? Greg scouted. And then we kind of create the list together, versus trying to pick and be like, oh, shoot, you took mine. I just think it's the same concept. We just don't have to do the execution might be easier.
So instead of, I think I'm feeling what Greg is throwing out there for me. See, we should be a couple, because I don't know if Rachel does this for you, to where you're trying to say, your mind's working 1,000 miles a minute, but your mouth isn't catching up or something. But I think I understand what you're saying. And basically the concept, it's a slight concept change. So instead of Greg and I coming in on draft day as opposing teams, we're on the same team and we're in the war room.
Correct.
Where we're like, okay, we're heading up to the official draft pick. We got to come up with the official, what's our top 5. So like Greg can take the lead, so he'll be like the head coach, and I'm his advisor going in. And it's okay. So he's like, Brian, what do we got? What do you have here for some groups to consider, or for some albums to consider? Because I think you wanted to do hair band albums.
80s hair metal albums. Yep.
And so we come up with our team, Iller and Filthier's top 5.
Yes.
And so we probably end up discussing 10 albums, maybe, depending on what we end up coming in with.
Yeah, both of us to kind of have 5 and maybe an extra, or like you got your kind of your what do they call that? Your honorable mention, kind of like.
Yeah. Or just like what you were saying, we have our backup picks that in case something gets drafted later on by another team, but we have our honorable mentions of, these three albums didn't make our top 5,
Right.
but
What they're called.
we're gonna show you anyways because we're making content, and
Yeah.
fuck you, it's our show.
Yeah. I think the reason I like it too is I think it gives us reasons to explain to each other, because I think that's the fun part is me, you're going, man, why did you, I'm just not sold. I don't know if I can put them in my top 5. Why? And it gives you and me both the chance to explain. It'd be the same way I would just imagine they do with the player when one guy's like, no, man, why would you want this guy over this guy? I'd be like, cause he does this, he did, like, so I like musically, like, how did it touch you? Like, this is I love this album for this reason, or, that it hit me in this way.
I love it either way, and I'll defer to you. So if that's what you want to do, I see it both ways. We can make it. I see the difference in how we either go to where we're coming up as opposing deities on draft day.
Yeah.
And we're actually drafting, or we're on the same team, and I'm going to say you're going to, because this is your idea, you're going to be like the head coach. You're the head guy. So I'm going to present what I have, and we'll go back and forth. And then it's up to you to be like, okay, I see what you're saying, Brian. Okay, we're gonna move this album here.
Because I'm hoping we have some crossover. We should. There should be some natural, but also that's what's fun. It creates the conversation, and it'll get comments coming in.
Yeah, and that's looking at a skit or a segment in a bigger picture way. How you're thinking that.
Yeah.
And I think if we have
is the OJ thing, right? So this week's bit or chunk, the meat is the draft, and then I still have a segment for you that's going to be called Missouri Man.
Okay.
That one, like I said, won't require anything for you. It'll just be me.
I'm on the cuff.
You're the
Okay.
This will be it's a Missouri Man thing that we'll talk about. That'll be your kind of like how you did saw it on the internet.
Okay. So I think you're leaning. So I think you're making the decision now. So we're just switching it up a little bit. We're on the same team, right?
Execution, right? Don't you think it just feels like for executing and getting through talking points, it seems like maybe a better way, because I do think we'll have crossover, and we'll try it and see how it works.
I could see it work both ways, but because this is your kind of produced segment like title, and I know we're both co-doing everything, but I think just the added layer of you're kind of like the head coach. So it's that way you can make the decision, as opposed to both of us sitting here, well, no, I think this is better. Well, like you were saying, we make our pitch, feel it out, and then I defer to, okay, well then Greg's going to put it, you're headed to the official draft, and you and I'm helping you come put this together. So I like that. So that's how we'll do it.
I mean, maybe this is the first time we'll get in a big argument. Like, this is going to be fun. Like, it could go, both ways. And no, I'm just kidding. But we'll I just think execution wise it might make sense, because I think it's repeatable too. Then we can be like, all right,
still repeatable.
Again, just like anything, like it's.
But see, that goes to opening it up for you to make new content. So maybe after our show is recorded, you do a little quick skit of you're actually walking into the draft. You make up a name for this draft that you're going to with your list of your 5, and you make a little 60-second skit of you being like the guy drafting. Yeah,
I will, because I've got pictures of me from my hair metal band and stuff. I mean, there's a whole lot of angles we can play with here.
Yeah, but so that opens us up to doing what I think you were talking about before in these kind of one-off videos that, for the hardcore Iller and Filthier viewers or listeners, they can go to the YouTube page where that's going to be kind of where everything's kind of held. And we're working to that point to where any kind of content that is Iller and Filthier eventually will end up all on Iller and Filthier on the YouTube page.
Right.
Even though you guys are seeing some of these shows when we do the lives or whatever, because it's presented by Tossing Salad, and my account's attached to how we do the live anyway, so there's really
Right.
no way around it. But
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, if you're a fan of all this and you're kind of curious what the hell is, you know, what are Brian and Greg doing, and seeing some of these, you know, weird videos or things that are just like us just having fun, make sure that you're subscribing to our YouTube channel, Iller and Filthier. We're slowly getting that set up to where you can go and you can see the full shows. We'll have some clips up there, and then you'll see these one-off fun videos too, to where maybe this character, you'll find out more about this character as we flesh them out, because we've got you know, Greg's a music producer, but he's also got this buddy Gardetto that I'm kind of fascinated with. We're going to learn more about Gardetto's backstory, but that's going to be on these little side videos.
Exactly.
So I like that idea.
Right. I think it'll be fun, man. That's the key, right? At the end of the day. And if we don't think it's fun,
then we move on to something.
Yeah.
we change it up. And that's the great thing about how we're doing the show. And if it's a lot of fun and it allows us to connect more dots on and go deeper, like into a deeper dive, deeper cuts on an album, that's what we're going to be allowed to do. So I saw your email to me on what I need to kind of prepare for, whatever, for Thursday. So now that we've kind of changed it a little bit, you still want me to come up with 5 to 7 albums?
Yeah. Give yourself
and screen cap a square image of what the album cover looks like, right?
Just so we have those. That way we both have them and can pop them up in the show. Then we just have the discussion. So we'll start with that, and then we'll go into Missouri Man.
Okay.
And again, shouldn't have to do much. I'm going to try to make a jingle for that. I'll do something for the draft too. I think we need like some draft music. You know, I don't know if we can use the ESPN one or not, but maybe I can do something with it and tweak it with some like hip hop or something.
Yeah, anything we use that we borrow that's commercially out there,
I'll make
we run the risk of getting flagged or pulled. So sometimes, and this is just for down the road, let's say we end up using a little jingle, a March Madness jingle or something.
Yeah.
And most of the time you can kind of get away with it. You'll get flagged, but it'll be like, okay, you can use this, but now you can't monetize from it.
Oh, yeah.
So then NCAA ends up making whatever views we get goes towards NCAA. So anything we can make that's actually kind of unique is always best.
I'll just try to find something similar. Yeah.
It's hard to do, but we're fortunate that you're good at that stuff and you know what you're doing.
What if I just mouthed it? What if I was like ba 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 and then created my own beats behind it? Like
you're talking to the guy that had the idea for I saw it on the internet and I
saw it on the internet.
That's the fun stuff. That's what we do. That's what people will they expect that. So mouth it, do whatever you want with it. So I think we've got Thursday night show, which will be a live show of us recording it and going through. So just briefly go through what's Thursday night show for people to look forward to.
We're going to do, in the spirit of the NFL draft, that is that night, we're going to do a 80s hair metal album draft. So Brian and I will be in the draft room, in our war room, come up with our list of our top 5 best available 80s hair metal albums. Well, I like the best available. Actually, that's a great. Just think of the ticker that's running at the bottom. They always have like Kuiper's best available quarterbacks.
Remember, but we're changing a little bit because we're on the same team in the war room.
Right.
So I can still have that ticker run to where if you think you can kind of envision how you want the show to look.
Yeah.
When are we putting the ticker up? Because you know what, when I was envisioning initially that we were opposing teams.
Yeah. I don't think we need
I
the
could
ticker
see
then.
the ticker.
Yeah, I don't think we need the ticker I'm just thinking of what I'm saying is like in my mind, it's that you're in the war room and there's like, guys, we need a defensive lineman. What's the 5 best players in case, if we lose this one, we're going here.
Okay.
So if you think of that mindset, that's what I mean is like when you sometimes see on the draft how it'll say like Kuiper's this team's up and they need a quarterback, and he'll have like, okay, the best available quarterbacks for that. I'm kind of thinking of it that way. It's like,
Okay.
So think of more war room style. Like,
do you
all right,
want
guys,
a ticker of? So I'm scrapping my original ticker idea, because you know how I was thinking we can have, okay, well, so and so was just taken, so then you have the first draft pick is scrolling through. Do you want like once you come up with your 5 to 7, I have my 5 to 7, that we just put all of those names just on a ticker, so all of those bands are on there, so people when they're watching kind of say, oh, they're going to talk about.
Yeah, I think so. I think we
it's
should.
Up to you.
Yeah. I was trying to think through that too. I was trying to think. I think I might be able to do it live with a file. I kind of had this thought of it on an Excel doc or something, creating something that had your list and my list, which I feel like we could share before the show quickly. And that way I have an image or screen share, I can pull it up, and then live we can be like, okay, it's moving into slot 1. So we might be able to do that with screen sharing, right?
Yeah. If you've got a file that can come up on a window on your screen,
that's what I want to do.
Up.
Yeah. And I think if you and I, like I said, if you or I can do it while we're sitting there before I share, it can be like mine will be in there, and I can add. Okay, Brian's gonna add
give you
yours.
Mine Thursday, and then you can just add them in, and we're not going to discuss them because we'll save that for the actual show live, the reveal. But at least you have like a master list.
Yeah, because then I think I can uncover them too. We can kind of like, all right, let's we'll figure that. Let me think about that for the next
I don't know how you're
so.
going to uncover it.
I'll try to figure out how I want to do.
Because it would have to be, then it's a completely different slide that you're putting up.
I think I can do it.
But how?
Because it'll be. Can I not share one live? I got to run in a second here.
Yeah.
But let me see.
Why? I guess you could. Yeah, because you're sharing the window. So whatever happens in that window, as if you can edit within that window or reveal things within that window, it'll show live. So
let's try really quick just to see them. Just 1 second. I got to go up and do real stuff. I had a kid come home from school. That's why he called. Let's see what is happening. Oh, there we go. I want to try something here.
So while you're trying something, I'm going to route back around to the initial question on looking back and advertising real quick. Yeah. So I think just for now, for this week, the Opus AI program that I pay credit for, I'm not crazy about it, but it does produce 20 quick clips of what the AI deems as clip worthy.
Okay.
I can post just a few of those. So it's no work on our effort or no work on our end. And that could be stuff that can, provide a little bit of short form content that I can put up. We can do that, but that's a critical thing that we're going to have to address at some point.
Okay.
But I get what you're saying, and I know your strengths looking forward and creating something new, and I'm the same way.
Well, I was thinking just not so much strengths, just the time. It's just like I still want to work on clips after. Like you said, I think it's just cool that we have the two perspectives. I want to make sure it's like, if I find one and you find a couple, and then I'm on to making a video for the next week kind of thing. Just from a focus perspective, like, okay, let me get this video done. I found a clip I like, but now I'm gonna,
yeah. And just keeping in mind.
We need to do both, like you said. We need to do both. I wanted to make sure. Yeah, I wanted to make sure you. I didn't want to. I'm not getting away from it. I just want to.
You asked me for a number, and I purposely didn't say it right off the bat because my number would probably not be a number you want to hear. But I think if I'm throwing out a number, we need something like 5 to 10 small clips of the old show to post out there, because that's the funnel.
Yeah.
All those short clips are the easiest way for 300 people, 500 people to see that clip that could potentially go, oh, I like that 60-second clip. Where can I get more stuff? Where can I find more long-form stuff? Okay. So the use of this Opus Clip AI will help us a little bit, but like I said, I'm not crazy about what they do.
Okay. Can you see that now? So could I live be like, okay, Brian says album 1.
Yeah.
Whoops. And Greg's number 1 is also album 1. So we have maybe something like this. And if I can think of a way to hide them, I will, so they're there. I mean, I can unhide. I just need to play around with that.
Yeah.
It'll just take a quick little formatting thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think we can add, yeah, I know I could do. And then, be like, okay, and Brian's second best available is this, and then we just start we could maybe do it a lot. Does that work? And I thought I'd try to clean this up and make it look like kind of cool,
right. No, yeah, I totally
try to get a template to where it's just kind of easy.
So are we also putting up album images too?
Or I think that's actually better than writing it in. I think maybe that's what I'll do is I'll create the clips. Maybe because if you send me the list, maybe that's easier if I already have the
image.
The image.
So just to make sure we're using standard images, you want a square image of the album cover.
Yeah. Okay. But I might be able to grab it if you just send me the list. It might be easier if I just have them all here,
so you can kind of see how
I could make the list with them.
That'd look cool. That would look cool as opposed to somebody looking at a spreadsheet.
Yeah. Trying to think of a way I could slide take the square like our Miro almost be like, okay, I'm gonna slide the square. We're gonna slide this into the number 1 spot.
You're gonna find, Greg, as you get going, that your creativity of what you see in your head, your frustration is going to come. How do I translate that to actually working?
Yeah.
Because sometimes you're gonna compare what you see on ESPN and their $1 million budget and technology, and you're gonna be like, why can't I do that here on StreamYard?
Yeah, I love it. No,
I will get you, if I get you those images of my potentials by tomorrow. Is that okay?
Yeah, or Wednesday. Whatever the fastest way. It doesn't have to be crazy. And even if you give me the albums, I can find the albums too. Because like I said, I think it might be if you give me the list, I'll pull the art and have it just in one spot and just I'll try to think of a creative way to put it together.
Okay.
So it looks cool. I think I have an idea.
That's good. This was a fantastic production. I mean, it's exactly what I think and had hoped for with this kind of content, because it's the real stuff that you're going to have to go through when you're putting together a show and when you're working with somebody. And we'll have this as on the Iller and Filthier page. This will just go under the playlist of production meetings. So just if you're curious of how shows are made and how we come up with these ideas and how we thought this stuff out, you guys can go to Iller and Filthier and look on the playlist, and it'll have our full shows, it'll have clips, it'll have the shorts, and then another playlist will be our production meetings. And we'll make it for, each of the dates that we do this. And we'll try to show you guys what this is all about. Sometimes it's just quicker for us to FaceTime each other. You're not going to see those, but we'll try to do these kind of meetings more often because it's all content.
All content. All right. It's time for dinner.
Yeah. This was a long day. So I just got your message halfway through the show, so I didn't see what you texted me. So I didn't realize that.
Oh, no. It's all
anyways,
good. Yeah, we didn't say it.
But anyways.
All right.
Yeah, this was good.
All right, brother.
We'll talk to you. I'm excited.
It'll be a fun week. Yeah.
I'm excited. All right, we'll see you.
I'll also try to get another clip done. I got that one done yesterday, but I'll see if I can come up with another going through the OJ thing and see what other highlights I thought.
And
it was fun actually, trying to, because you could really edit down or there were a pause. I took out a whole thing where I went on something else. So it sounded cohesive.
Put yourself in a new user's perspective. They come across, and are they going to swipe away within the first 2 or 3 seconds? And does that, whatever clip you're putting together, does that get across whatever it is that you want us to hopefully get across to these people? So that's the fun thing about the clips, but they take time.
Yeah, I hear you. But I was able to get through it. I was like, okay, yeah, it worked. It worked super solid. So I
Okay.
love it.
All right. Well, that's the end of our production meeting for this week. The next time you see us live will be on Thursday night. We're probably talking another 8 o'clock, maybe slightly later, but it'll
Yeah,
be Thursday night, we think for sure. So hope you guys have a great start to your week, and we will see you all next time.
peace.